We are on page Samach Amud Aleph. We're on page 68, and we've been learning some interesting Gemaras here, interesting halachas. The Gemara about davening for a miracle to happen, a major miracle. Person davens for their child who seems to have already been formed. The gender has already been formed, and yet Leah just davens for the gender to be switched. And the Gemara says that that's Maaseh Nisim. That's like a miracle, and you can't. Regular people can't really daven for miracles. That's for maybe a great tzaddik can do such a thing. And the regular person, we would say it's a tefillas shav. It's a tefillah in vain. And the reason it would be in vain is because really the child has already been decided what gender it is. It's not only decided, it's already formed. So this would be like a major miracle. I did want to bring, there's a Gemara in Shabbos where it mentions that there was a man whose wife passed away, and he had a little baby. And he davened that Hashem, should make a miracle for him. And sure enough, a miracle happened, and he was able to nurse the child himself from his chest. He was able to nurse the child. Now, this is a crazy miracle. And the Gemara there says, one of the rabbis says, wow, how great this person was that Hashem made such a miracle. But the other rabbi in the Talmud says how low this is, that this person caused Hashem to change the whole way of creation. And so our Gemara seems to follow that idea that, to totally change the entire way the world works is considered kama garua adam zeh, how lowly this person is, that he caused Hashem to change the norm that Hashem wants the world to be. Now, there is also a Gemara, another Gemara that mentions that a person should not rely on a miracle, and the reason you're not supposed to rely on a miracle is because first of all, maybe the miracle is not going to happen. Number two, it's also going to take away from your merits. It might use up some of your merits. So it's not advisable to do so. For example, let's say you're going to go on a very dangerous place, or you're going to travel to a dangerous city where it's, an Arab country that doesn't like Jews, or some dangerous activity that sometimes people don't make it or something. So the Gemara is saying you shouldn't do that. Don't rely on a miracle.
Go out at night. You go out at night for the paper.
You go out at night
for the paper. Go out at night for the paper. You're in it the next morning.
I didn't know that line. Okay, so
dangerous activity.
So it depends where you live, but yeah. So the Gemara says that you're going to be. It's going even if you everything works out and you're safe, but ultimately it takes away from your merits. So that is also something along the lines of over here asking Hashem for a miracle. It's something that is, if you're meritorious, that Hashem will listen to you, but nevertheless it's going to take away from your merits. So that's not advisable. The idea is that we don't really daven to Hashem for these for miracles. We daven for success and for all blessings, but to daven for a great miracle, that's really beyond. That's certain individual righteous tzaddikim, they have the ability to do such a thing. Now there is a question asked on this Gemara, and that is that if a person misses out when we recite Al Hanisim, if you miss out the Al Hanisim in benching, It's very, very interesting, but there's actually a makeup for missing out the Al Hanisim. And what is that makeup for missing out? Al Hanisim is said in the benching in the beginning. It's very common for people to miss it because it's not included where you normally include Ritzei or Yalav Yavai. It's included in the beginning of the benching. And anyway, a person might miss it out and forget Al Hanisim during Hanukkah or Purim. So in the end, when you say the Harachamans, there's a Harachaman that you add, which is like a makeup for this Al Hanisim. And the Harachaman that you add is Harachaman hu yasel lanu nisim. Harachaman, the merciful one, may he do for us miracles the same way he did miracles for our fathers. In this time, the Hanukkah miracle, the Purim miracle. So the question is, we're asking Hashem for a miracle. This is the actual prayer, the makeup prayer for Al Hanisim. When you normally say Al Hanisim, you're not asking Hashem for a miracle. You say, we thank Hashem for the miracles that he did. Al Hanisim, Al Gvudish, Al Chus, Al Neflesh, Al Sislav, Sedam B'yam Hems Manazeh. We say, we thank Hashem for all the miracles, the wonders that Hashem did for us in this time. And then you say all the story of either Hanukkah or the story of Purim, and that's the prayer. It's all about thanks to Hashem. But it's interesting that the makeup prayer is actually asking Hashem for miracles. May Hashem do for us miracles the same way he did for us in this time. Well, I thought you're not allowed to ask for miracles. How does that fit with this prayer? So one of the commentaries asks this question, and he says that it could be there's a difference, and this is where what Moshe said yesterday, I think Moshe might have mentioned this yesterday, that maybe there's a difference between an individual and a community. That for an individual to ask for a miracle, maybe he's not fit, maybe it's going to use up his merits, but to ask for the community, that would be acceptable. So that's an interesting point. That, in other words, asking for yourself for a miracle is a problem, but asking for the community, Hashem should make miracles for the community, that's not a problem. The other answer that I think is obvious, the way we were explaining it until now, is that we're not asking Hashem for a miracle that's going to change the entire nature of the world. We're asking Hashem for the typical miracles that we like to have. The great miracles that Hashem does for us. It's not changing the whole works of creation. Even winning the lotto is not surprising. Someone's got to win, so let it be me, right? That's not a crazy miracle. That's not changing the nature
Order
of the world,
universe, right?
It's a normal miracle. There's normal miracles and there's crazy miracles. So
do you know the prayer for that? So I can maybe hit the number.
Yeah, the prayer for that is 6:24.
Okay.
The prayer for that is doing mitzvahs.
All right.
Serving Hashem, and Hashem will definitely provide everything that you need.
Thank you.
Rabbi, my son said that his maid asked his son, which is 2 years old, what number should she play? And a few times he told her a number and she won.
Ah, okay.
So find a kid to tell you a number.
Find somebody who's innocent and pure, right?
Right.
And give him a part of it.
Yeah, right. Right.
So there are other answers that are given as well. One is that there's a difference between a nes b'tzina and a nes b'farhesya. A hidden a miracle that's more secret miracle, meaning it's just going to happen to you, no one's going to know about it, or a miracle that's going to happen and everyone's going to find out about it. It'll be a great miracle. It'll be a great honor for Hashem's name. So, for example, the miracles that we're asking in the Al Hanisim prayer, that person is making up. When you make up that prayer and you're asking Hashem, may Hashem do miracles similar to the miracles that he did in the time of Hanukkah or in the time of Purim. So that request is asking Hashem for a communal, not about communal versus individual, but about a miracle that will be known to everyone. And that way it'll sanctify God's name. a miracle that will sanctify God's name, that you can ask Hashem to bring, because even if it minimizes the person's merits, it'll also add to a person's merits, because when everyone sanctifies God's name and says, wow, look at how great Hashem is, and Hashem did this for his people, so that will also cause people to praise Hashem, and it'll add to one's merits. So there it would be acceptable to ask Hashem for a crazy miracle. Okay, anyway, these are some of the ideas that are some of the discussions mentioned in the commentaries about how to reconcile our Gemara with this with this prayer of mentioning asking Hashem for a miracle. The exact wording is Harachaman hu yasa lanu nisim v'neflois. The merciful one, may he do for us miracles and wonders, kashem she'asisa laviseinu, the same way you did to our fathers by yomim ahim, in those days, bisman hazeh, in this time. And meaning in those days, in this time, meaning either Hanukkah or Purim. And then you continue with the Bimei Matisyahu ben Yochanan Kohen Gadol. You continue with the other paragraph of the Al Hanisim. And so this is brought in Shulchan Aruch to say that prayer. So how do you reconcile that with the understanding of our Gemara not to pray for a miracle? At least that's what it seems from our Gemara.
Everything is a miracle. You pray for your next breath, it's a miracle. So we're talking about outright, right, that London Bridge should fall down, or that the building should twist sideways, or that you should make it in 1 hour instead of 8. No, that may even be a quiet one. But that's the difference. For yourself, to beat the odds is a miracle.
So you have the different answers, but yes, okay. So the Gemara that we learned, we also mentioned that the story of Hillel Hazaken, that he was coming on the way, and he heard this noise in the city. He said, I'm sure that this is not from my house. And the pasuk about him says, Mishmua ra'a lo yira, don't be afraid of bad news, of bad tidings, of hearing something bad. Nachan liboy batoch b'Hashem, a confident heart is trusts in Hashem. And so that pasuk is this idea that a person should be confident in Hashem that everything is good. And then the Gemara mentioned, yes.
When I said yesterday that I think we studied that before, the tzvacha, and I was reading yesterday, and then I found it's in the Mishnah that we are learning right now.
Right. Hazrezu tfilas shav. Right.
Right.
Right. That's the example given. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So so the Gemara said that this pasuk, you could read it either way, from the beginning to the end or from the end to the beginning. It basically emphasizes this idea of putting our trust in Hashem. Another way of understanding the Gemara was that he gave over to his family the message of how important it is to accept whatever Hashem gives you. And by doing that, he was sure that if there was screaming going on in the city, it couldn't have been from his house, because his family is a family that accepts what Hashem gives, the simcha. They accept whatever Hashem does. Kashem shemavarchan ala toiv. The same way you bless Hashem for the good, you also bless Hashem for the bad. And therefore, it couldn't have been from coming from his house. Yes, Ezra.
I would say the fact that he hears screaming, whatever's happened already has happened. So it really won't do any good for him. Yeah, and that's the reason why I say it's a Tefillat Shav. It's already happened. So what are you praying for something to happen? That everything goes backwards, that everything gets rebuilt, that everything, goes back to only in Harry Potter can you do that, but you can't do that in real life.
Right. So the Mishnah definitely was saying that. Harizu Tefillah Shav. The story of Hillel, the emphasis is either that it's not just that whatever happened, but it's emphasizing more that he's sure it's not in his house. So the emphasis seems to be taking this a step further than what the Mishnah said. So the Mishnah, what you're saying is correct, exactly, for sure. That's the meaning of the Mishnah. But Hillel seems to be adding on this idea that there is a concept in bitachon where you're confident that that everything is good. Hashem would never have done anything bad, and it can't be that this is coming from his house. Nothing bad would happen, and or that it can't be that his family would wouldn't be able to accept whatever Hashem brought upon them. So that's the that's the understanding of this addition, the fact that the Gemara is bringing the story of Hillel. So then the Gemara brought other stories here. The Gemara brought a story of a Talmud was going after, a student was going after Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi, going after him, walking after him, following him in the Shuk of Tzion, and he saw that he was nervous. He says, "Oh, you're a sinner," because it says, "Hachdu b'Tzion chatoim." It says that the sinners are afraid in Zion, and he was walking in the Shukah de Tzion, in the marketplace of Tzion. So he said, the student said, "What do you mean? You're supposed to be nervous." Ashrei Adam Mefachei Tamid. He brought a pasuk, a verse that says in Mishlei, Proverbs, that praiseworthy is someone who's always nervous, always afraid. My answer. So Rabbi Yossi told him, "You learned it wrong. That pasuk is talking about a specific thing. It's talking about divrei Torah, forgetting that if you should always be nervous that you're going to forget your learning, so that it'll cause you to want to review it more, and or to give render any judgment according to another opinion. They should be nervous because maybe you should be extra careful." So that's regarding divrei Torah, but otherwise, person should be confident in Hashem. And then another story is Yehuda Bar Nasan was going after Rav Amnuna, and he gave like a krechts, or a sigh, and so Rav Amnuna said, "Are you trying to bring suffering upon yourself? Because it says, Ki pachad pachadati v'yasiyani v'asher yagorti yovevu." I was afraid, and what I was afraid of came to me, and so if a person is showing fear from something, that actually could bring negative things. So my answers, this student answered back. He said, "But it says a person should always be nervous and afraid." So he answered, that's referring to divrei Torah. Again, the same concept, that it's referring to divrei Torah. Okay. So now we are the next Gemara. The next Gemara was talking about this prayer when a person is traveling, which seemed to be a little questionable. Why is there this prayer if you say Tfilas Haderech? Here we talked about a prayer. You're entering a big city. You're leaving a big city. You have to ask Hashem that you should enter in peace. You leave. You should you thank Hashem that you after you left. You thank Hashem that you left in peace. Or after you entered, you thank Hashem that you entered in peace, and so on. So all of these prayers, they seem to be like redundant almost, because if you said Tfilas Haderech, what do you need this prayer for? Well, thanks is okay, but the prayer seems to be unnecessary. And so so I mentioned yesterday that the comment, at least one of the explanations is that really they're two separate things. There's the traveler's prayer, that you're praying for a distance that you're traveling. If you're traveling for some type of a ride, some type of a lengthy ride, which we've said it means a parsa, at least like a 72-minute ride or more. That would be a case where you would say Tfilas Haderech. The amount of it's a certain amount of miles that normally would take 72 minutes to walk. The Gemara here, the Mishnah here, is talking about a not a long distance ride, but more of a danger of entering a certain area. So you're not taking a long distance travel. Therefore, it's not really the same as Tfilas Haderech. Tfilas Haderech is all about your lengthy travel. This is all about entering a dangerous neighborhood and leaving a dangerous neighborhood. And however, there is situations where you would combine the two and put them together. And that's where you stayed over, let's say, in this neighborhood, and now you're leaving the next day and you are going to be traveling. So you need to say the Tfilas Haderech for your travel, but you also need to say this prayer for that you left peacefully and so on. So here you would have a scenario where you would combine the two together, and you would actually end the prayer with Shemei Tefillah, with the Tfilas Haderech prayer. So that seems to be at least one of the ways of reconciling this, as that it does fit with. There are situations where you combine the two. Okay, so the Gemara mentioned this Tana Rabbanan, the Brisa, that what is the prayer when you enter? You say Yiratzon Milfanecha Hashem Elokai, may it be your will, Hashem, my God, that Shetachniseini L'krach Shalom. You should bring me into this krach peacefully, and into this krach. Krach is a big city, sometimes considered a walled city. Nichnas, once you entered peacefully, then you have to thank Hashem that you entered peacefully, and you say the Moida Ani, different Moida Ani than we say in the morning. This is a Moida Ani Lefanecha, Hashem Elokai. You say Hashem's name, Hashem, my God, that you entered me into this krach, into this big city in peace. And when you want to leave, you say, Yiratzon Milfanecha, may it be your will, Hashem, my God, the God of my fathers, that you should take me out of this city in peace. And once you taken out in peace, then you can say the Moida Ani Lefanecha, that Hashem, Shehotzisani Mikrach Zel Shalom, that thanking Hashem for taking me out of this big city in peace. In the same way you took me out in peace, with peace, so should you take me l'shalom, sismachin l'shalom, and that's where the continuation seems to be a similar prayer to Tfilas Haderech. And then the Gemara discussed, does this apply to any city, any big city? Are there certain rules? So the Gemara initially said that it's only applicable in a city where a dangerous city where the government there is, they seem to kill people when they without even judging, not even judging them. And but a city that they judge you first, then you don't have to worry. I guess this would be like entering an Arab country. Certain ones, they don't really do much judgment. That might be a good example. Entering an Arab, maybe you should say this prayer. A person enters it would be a interesting thing. I mean, a lot of people do that. A lot of people
in Williamsburg. I mean,
Chicago lately.
A lot of people go on business. To these. You go to. Even someone told me that it's like much cheaper if you fly Air Amman or something through Jordan. He says it's a very good airline. But it's like you definitely want to say for sure Tfilas Haderech. But it seems like maybe who knows what they don't really. I don't know what type of judgment they use there. It could be they just kill, but different countries, sure, there are definitely a lot worse out there. but
Seattle. I'm not joking.
there are cities in Chicago also.
Well,
This is a very appropriate time to be doing this sugya. So let's move on.
Seattle and,
Now-
and
What?
Portland out in Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah.
So, so the Gemara says that maybe there's different, but a krach, maybe you just a distinction between a city, a big city that they judge first and then they kill. So then the Gemara says that there's Ika da Amri. There's another version that doesn't matter. Even a krach that they judge first before they kill. Sometimes you're not going to find, loy masrami inish. You're not going to find someone who'll be an advocate for you, and you'll be stuck. So therefore, nowadays, maybe they would add another thing. Maybe you're not going to have enough money for a lawyer. What the lawyers charge, who knows if you'll be able to afford the legal fees. But
No, the law is that everybody gets a lawyer free. If you can't afford
not in every
it.
country. I don't know if every country they do that.
No, here, yeah.
Here. So, okay. Now we're up to the next Gemara, Tana Rabbanan. We are about 10 lines up from maybe 11 lines up from the bottom of the page. 60a, page Samech Amud Aleph, page 60a, Hano Rabbanon. The rabbis learned. Hanichnas lebeis hamerchatz. Okay, so now we're starting new Gemara. Hanichnas lebeis hamerchatz. If a person enters a bathhouse, Omer, he should say the following prayer. And what is this prayer? May be your will before you. Hashem, my God, that you should save me from this, and anything similar to this. And it shouldn't be happen to me any kalkala
Mishap.
destruction. What?
Mishap.
And v'avain and sin. V'im yara bi davar kalkala v'avain. And if it ever happens to me a mishap and a sin, temi sasi kapara l'chol avinoisai, may my death be a atonement for all of my sins. So it's interesting that they consider the Beis HaMerchatz. We'll soon see why. That the Beis HaMerchatz is like a dangerous. The bathhouse is like a dangerous place. We'll soon see why. But that they would say this prayer. Not only say this prayer, but they make a whole thing out of it. That if that person might die, if he dies, it should be a kapara, should be an atonement. This is like the vidui that person says in. On their deathbed, they say such a vidui that like there's a shortened version of vidui, and that's basically this last line. The hemi sasi kapara l'chol avinaisai. That's like the shortened version when a person is passing away. They say that if chas v'shalom a person dies, their death should be an atonement for all their sins. And here you're saying it at a bathhouse. So number one is you're saying you should save me from this. And what is kiyotze boy? And anything similar to this? So they bring over here that it could mean the fire of Gehenna. Hashem should save me from this and anything similar, which would mean other fires that at least it's brought, they bring from the Avodrama, referring to the fire of Gehenna.
Rabbi,
Yes.
can't you translate it literally? And anything that comes from it, which would be Gehenna.
Comes from what? What do you mean? Gehenna comes from, what does Gehenna come from?
Well, it's the way it reads, that as a kapara for my sins, and anything that comes from it would include having to spend time in Gehenna.
Yeah, but it says kiyotzi, but before it mentions the sin part. No, it seems first he's talking about. It is interesting that it adds this whole thing about sin. Normally you just say, "Oh, save me from this and from something similar." Then it adds this whole thing about sin. If happens to be to me to do a sin, then no sin should happen. If sins happen, no, I think Kiyotzeba is like before that. To me, it's interesting that it connects it. That's interesting what you're saying. That it sort of like flows with the sin part. Kiyotzeba, that it's referring to Gehenna. That's thanks for mentioning that. I'll tell you, I just think that it's definitely surprising that it mentions this whole sin thing over here. But the fact that it says it before, I don't know if you can say it like fits with that. I don't know if anyone has the Steinsaltz or something, or
I have the Steinsaltz.
if they mention anything about this, but it is an interesting thing that you're davening to Hashem by the bathhouse that he should save you from the fire of Gehenna, and
or anything that follows from whatever happens there.
As a result.
So I think
as a result.
The simple answer is that the bathhouse is dangerous, I think, for two aspects of it, which we'll soon see. That number one, it's built on top of a pit, and because of for the water to flow out or something. So because of that, your person could fall down. And the second thing is could fall into the fire.
The fire is to warm the water.
To warm the water. But if a person ends up falling in, that wouldn't be too comfortable. So the prayer would be, Hashem should save me from this, that everything should go smoothly, it shouldn't fall in the pit. And Kiyotzeba, and anything that comes out, Kiyotzeba, anything that, similar to it or connected to it, which would be maybe the fire that's there. But anyway,
as a result of it, you can say.
As a result of the pit. Right, okay. So anyway, whatever it is, this is the prayer that a person would say when the bathhouses were dangerous. And Amar Abai, but Abai says, you shouldn't really say of this additional statement, because you're sort of like opening up the ability for Satan to do something, to liftach pume l'satan. Person shouldn't open his mouth to Satan that might start prosecuting him. Reish Lakish says, and also it was learned in a brayso in the name of Rabbi Yossi, the person shouldn't open their mouth up to the Satan, to Satan. By saying things, you're sort of like causing, you're bringing this upon you. So you're sort of like opening up a can of worms. Why are you mentioning sin?
It's like telling him there's an opportunity for you here.
Right. He's sort of like saying, I might have sins. You might want to look into me. I might have sins. V'im yera bi davar kalkala, right? If I do have sins, that let my death. It's like you're sort of like saying, if you want, at least there'll be an atonement. So Amar Rabbi Yosef, my crowd, Rabbi Yosef says, what is the source that you shouldn't open your mouth up for Satan? The chsiv, as it says, kemat kistoim hayinu la'amayra daminu. We were almost like, if not for Hashem having mercy on us, we were almost be like Sdoim and similar to Amayra. And that was a statement that the people that were being exiled had said from Yerushalayim. The city was being destroyed, and they were saying that they are like Sodom and Amorah. And Maya Hadar Lahu, what did Maya Hadar Lahu Navi? What did the Navi answer them? Shimu Devar Hashem Tetzine Sodom. Listen to the word of Hashem, you officers of Sodom. And basically, the Yidden started out saying that they were like Sodom, and sure enough, they awakened this idea that they will be considered similar to Sodom because of their speech. And they're called people, the ministers, officers of Sodom. Now, the Gemara says that when you leave the bathhouse, what do you say when you leave the bathhouse? I thank you, Hashem, my God, that you saved me from the fire. Then the Gemara says the story of Avo Olavei Bani. Avo went up to this bathhouse, and Ibches, it sort of fell in. Ibches Beibani me to say it it somehow cracked and opened up, and the floor fell down. And it's Rachesh Leinisa, a miracle happened. Come al Amuda, and Rebavo was able to stand on one of the beams that was still, a vertical, whatever. Some beam was still there, or horizontal, whatever. There was a beam there. There was an amud, a pillar. No, it's not a beam, a pillar. So it must have been
a pillar.
like a pillar was there. So he was able to stand. He was able to catch himself on an amud, and shaziv me'av echad gavri b'chad evret, and he saved 101 people with one of his limbs, which means like his arm or his leg. He was able, each one caught on to him, and they were able to hold on, and they didn't fall into this empty area below. So Rebavo said, Hainu derav Acha. This is the meaning of this prayer that Rav Acha said, that when you leave, you should be thankful to Hashem that he saved you from the fire. So that is the now Rashi says, interestingly enough, he says that he took me out in peace. Sani b'shalom. So I'm wondering if Rashi might have had a different version, that it didn't actually say from the fire, but more Sani l'shalom. I wonder if, anyway, it's a little. From this Gemara, it seems that maybe there's two parts to it. That there's the fire part, and there's also the fact that they would just fall below, or is it one thing? Is falling below means fall into the fire, or falling below means that there's an area below where a person could just fall and be a long, deep hole that would be dangerous to fall. And that's where because Rashi says that's where the water would go. So it sounds like after they finished bathing, the water would fall into this area after maybe when they were cleaning it out. It seems to me like it's two separate things. There's the area where the water leaves, it exits the bathhouse in order to put in new water, and this is what that is why they had the hole in the ground. That's where the water would drain into.
But I think when they say Sodom, maybe they mean also bodily harm, because they're all naked in the Beit HaMirchatz, and
but the case of Sodom in Amira was just an example of not opening up your mouth. It didn't really have to do with the bathhouse.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That was just saying that don't open your mouth up and say things that, like inviting Satan to join and say, why don't you check this out? Come, that don't do that. But the bathhouse seems to be not really connected to the Sodom itself, just to the idea of don't say, if I have sins, may this be May my death be a kapara. Okay, so that's the story about this bathhouse prayer. Now, of course, we don't do it nowadays. It's not as dangerous. But I guess in time of the Gemara, I guess it was a major. It was a dangerous thing. And at the same time, they had to take baths, so they had to say this prayer and do it. Hanichnas lahakis dam. Now comes the next Gemara. It talks about bloodletting. In the olden days, they considered bloodletting a way of healing. And the truth is, it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that any person that does any type of healing should say this prayer similar to this. But if a person would bloodlet, the prayer was, he should say, may it be well Hashem my God, that this act should be for me a healing. But you should heal me. Because you are a God who of trusting to heal. And your healing is truth. Really, we shouldn't look for ways of healing, because we should just daven to Hashem. But the minhag is to use ways of healing, and therefore we need these healings, and that's why I am doing this and asking you that it should actually work. So in other words, this prayer, the way he says it, implies like it's really not so appropriate for a person to go to a doctor or to take medicine, because Hashem, you should daven to Hashem. He's the one who heals. Medicine doesn't heal and doctors don't heal. But because the minhag, because the custom of the world is that we we take medicine and we go to doctors. So therefore, the appropriate thing to do became that we are subject to the rules somewhat of nature to some extent. In other words, we are therefore we should take medicine because we have subjected ourselves to these rules. But I am asking you that it should work, that Hashem, you should make it successful. Now the Gemara says, Amar Abaye loy leme in ashtachi, a person shouldn't say this, the Tani Debei, because it was learned in the base medrash of Rabbi Yishmael, Verapa Yerape, Verapa Yerape, which means that he should surely pay for his healing of when he damages his friend. Mikan, from here it's understood, Shenitne Rishus L'Reife L'Rapos, the fact that we obligate someone who wounds their friend, that he has to pay for the healing, that proves that a person is allowed to, a doctor is allowed to heal, and it is appropriate to go to doctors. So this is this idea that because it says a double language in the pasuk that says Verapa Yerape, so it teaches us that any type of healing is appropriate. In other words, from the actual, what it seems like is from the actual wording of the pasuk, the fact that you have to pay for someone's healing, you have to pay for his medical bills. When you wound him, that's no big. That you see clearly that if someone wounds someone else, then you go to a doctor. But what about if someone gets sick from Hashem? In other words, no one else wounded you. So that you have this double language. The fact that it has a double language, it shows that the doctor has the permission to heal even some sickness that comes from Hashem, that you weren't wounded by a friend, that also you're allowed to go to a doctor. You might think that no, your friend wounds you, then you go to a doctor. But if Hashem is giving you a sickness, what are you doing? Going and fighting Hashem by going to a doctor? Going against Hashem? Hashem is giving you the sickness, and you're going to say, Hashem, you try your thing. I'm going to go to my doctor, and I'm going to get healed. So it sounds almost like maybe it's inappropriate. The pasuk says, "Verapa Yerape," that you're allowed to go to a doctor even on a sickness that Hashem brings upon you. That nevertheless you go to a doctor. It's not like you're denying the gzeira, the decree of Hashem. Yes, Ben.
Since Hashem is the one that lets the doctor cure you, he will cure you only when Hashem wants him to cure you.
Of course.
So he
but
doesn't cure, a doctor doesn't cure everybody. He only cures some of the people.
Right. But the question is, if Hashem is the one who brought it on you, are you making it hard for Hashem, so to speak? And of course, nothing's hard for Hashem. But are you fighting what is really meant for you? You know, are you going against? No, if Hashem wants to heal you, he'll heal you like that.
The doctor cannot cure you without Hashem. So
that's true. But is it still wrong to go to Hashem? To go to a doctor?
If you pray to Hashem, let my doctor cure me. That's what happens.
Yeah. No, listen, what you're saying is correct. Ultimately, that's right. But in the thought process, I'm trying to say, there was a thought process of the Gemara. And the thought process of the Gemara is that there could be a thought that when your friend causes a wound in you, then you go to a doctor, and you're allowed to go to a doctor, and he'll heal you, and this is acceptable. But when Hashem is punishing you with a sickness, in other words, it didn't come from a friend, it came directly from Hashem. You woke up one morning and something goes wrong, and so that you could look like it's inappropriate for you to go to a doctor to heal you when Hashem is the one who brought the punishment to you. So you're sort of like fighting Hashem's punishment, and even though what you're saying is right, Hashem will.
It's all in your mind. If you think it's the doctor that's healing you, then you are wrong. But it's not the doctor that's healing you.
Right. Okay. Anyway, what you're saying is correct. Ultimately, that it's that's the conclusion of the Gemara, that you're allowed to go to a doctor, but there could be a thought the opposite way. There is discussion. I should mention this, that even though, of course, we follow the view that v'rapa yirape, that you are allowed and you're obligated to go to doctors, but there are such views. I believe there's an Even Ezra in Chumash that mentions that this only applies to sicknesses that are on the outside of your body, but things that are inside your body, you're really supposed to rely on Hashem. There are such views, extreme views, that we don't follow, but they were.
But even doctors get sick. Even doctors get sick and they cannot cure themselves. As a matter of fact, we just had somebody die 2 days ago, a doctor, and he couldn't cure himself either.
Well, of course, there's no question that the doctors don't run the world. I mean, some of them think they do, but there's no question that they're not calling shots. But it could be rebellious. You could see it as an act of rebellion to even go to a doctor, even if it's Hashem. Even though, of course, Hashem is running the world, but it could look like an act of rebellion going to a doctor. And on this, the Gemara says no. At least the way we're translating it is that it gives permission for a Reife to heal. So, in other words, the previous statement that you said that we said she'ein darkon shel bnei adam l'rapei sela shenagu, that statement doesn't really apply according to the final halacha that v'rapa yirape allows you to go to doctors under all circumstances. Now the Gemara concludes and says, Kikoi my oimer, what do you say when you finish, when you stand up, when you stand, what do you say? And it was after the bloodletting. So Amar Rav Acha Baruch Roifei Chinam, you say, blessed is Hashem, who heals for free. So you thank Hashem for healing for free. Now, it's an interesting wording. I don't know if the doctor will be too excited when he hears you thanking Hashem. Hashem, you heal for free. This guy, But there is another girsa over here that it's Baruch Reifei Cholim, not Baruch Reifei Chinam, but blessed are you Hashem who heals the sick. or Reifei Chaim. Two other Gersais. Reifei Chaylim and Reifei Chaim. Okay, so the next Gemara, we turn the page now. We're on page Samach Amud Beis, 60b. The Gemara mentions that there's a certain prayer a person at least used to say. We don't say it nowadays, but there used to be a prayer a person would say when they would use the bathroom. Nowadays we say a prayer after a person goes to the bathroom, but there used to be a prayer a person would recite before, and the reason for this prayer would be because there are angels that protect us, and they go with us wherever we go. It says Ki malachav yitzav elach l'shmorcha b'chol drachecha, that the Hashem commands his angels to follow us, to guard us in all of our ways, and there's always two angels that are malava a person, that escort a person constantly. So when a person would go to the bathroom, you would tell the angels to wait outside. A person who enters the bathroom, he should say, "Eskabdu mechubadim." You honorable people should be honored, and shouldn't have to do something degrading. Kedoshim, you holy ones, Mashar Sayelyan, ministers of High, of Hashem, Tanu covered Lalakei Yisrael, give honor to the God of Israel who created me. Harbu mimeni, let go of me, in other words, leave me, Aj Ekones, until I enter Veserit Soini, and until I enter, and I will do my will, and Va'avay Aleichem, and I will come back to you. Amar Abaye says, Loi lema inish hachi. You shouldn't say this term, that harfu mimeni, let go of me and leave me, because Dilma Shavku Levi, because maybe they're actually going to leave. They might leave him and go. Ella lema, but rather you should say Shemruni, Shemruni, Izruni, Izruni, Samchuni, Samchuni, Hamtinuli, wait for me. So Shemruni, Shemruni, which means watch me, Izruni, Izruni, help me, Samchuni, support me, Hamtinuli, Hamtinuli, and I guess that's the main word here, is wait for me, Ad she'akones ve'etze shekein darkan shel b'nei yadam, because this is the way of humans, that we need to go to the bathroom. So that's the prayer that a person would say. Of course, nowadays that's not it's not normally said, and the reason why it's not said is because we don't feel we're not on a level that we see the angels, or we feel the angels. We're not in that league, but I guess in previous generations, maybe righteous people maybe do this, very holy people who are a little more on a level of angels, maybe would say something.
Rabbi, why the double lashon? I mean, Shemuni.
I guess because there's two. There's maybe because the two angels.
So why is he using the plural on each one of the?
Yeah.
That would
Shemru,
wait for me. That's the plural form. So why the double lashon? It would mean.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I have to see if the commentaries discuss the specific language.
Hi, Ezra.
Okay.
While Rebbe's looking, I can say hello.
Isaac, we can hear you.
I know. I said, hi, Ezra.
Okay.
While the Rebbe is looking, I can say it.
Ah, okay. I didn't hear.
Anyway,
Okay.
the Gemara continues. I have to see if I
Isaac.
find anything about it, about the lashon. The Gemara concludes and says, "Kinafik when a person leaves." He says, "Baruch asher yotzer es ha'adam b'chachma v'aravayin nekav." He says the bracha asher yotzer. What's this bracha? That blessed Hashem that He created a person with wisdom and b'chachma v'aravai, and He created in him nekavim chalulim holes and hollows, and golui v'yadu lefnei chisei chavedecha. It's revealed before your throne, your holy, your honorable throne. That if any of these orifices would be opened, or if they are closed, we wouldn't be able to live. We wouldn't be able to stand before you. And my chasim, what do you end off? Amar Rav. Rav says, Reifei cholim. Blessed are you, Hashem, who heals the sick. Amar Shmuel, Koshavinu, Abba l'kol yalma katziri. You're considering everyone sick. Ella Reifei chol basar. You end off that Hashem heals all flesh. Rav Sheshes Amar Mafli Lases. He does wonders. And Rashi explains what are these wonders that Hashem does, that the body that has, it's like a pouch that has holes, that's hollow inside, and the pouch that, if it would have a hole, would never be able to hold what's within it. The air would fall out. And Hashem created a person with wisdom. He created these orifices, many orifices, and nevertheless, a person's spirit stays inside him all his life. And that is a great wonder in Chachma. So that is the mafli, pella, it's a wonder. The body of a person, of a human, is a great wonder. Amar Rav Papa says, Hilkach Nimrinu L'Tarvayu. Rav Papa is famously, with other statements as well in the Gemara, where you have two different opinions, Rav Papa likes to join the two together. And he says, let's do both. Reifei chol basar or mafli lasis. Reifei chol basar, mafli lasis. He says, let's say both of them. So that is the conclusion of this little piece about the bracha of Asher Yotzar, and I guess we'll have to stop here. Yes, Ben.